Let's open up with Sirach chapter 4. Let's go there. Oh. Idiots in Israel. Okay, now that sounds too mean. How about if any man be ignorant? How about that? I like it. If any man be ignorant. AKA. All right. Y'all sound like idiots in Israel. The reason I brought that up because brothers have been put out because some brothers, and you see some of them even on YouTube, they want a name for themselves. So what they do, rather than conform to what the scriptures say, they want to be the individual that comes up with a new understanding. So the new understanding is, how many of you got socks on? Raise your hand. Brothers, raise your hand. You got socks on. Whose socks is 100%? Keep your hand up. It's 100%. Let me see your socks, Jonah.
Why are you looking at the leg? It's funny.
Now, how do they stay up? Is there elastic in there? Like,
that's not part of the fabric.
Is there elastic in there is my question.
Yeah, but
they're not 100%. They're not 100%. They're not 100%. Just listen. Stop going on creating your own madness. This is what the class is about. Brothers will create a come on, y'all, stop.
Come on, bro. I'm hearing you.
It went off. Oh, it's back on. Brothers will create a doctrine. How many of you got drawers on in here? How many of your drawers fit tight and hold up? It's elastic woven in there. It's not 100%. That's my point. We're going to touch on that too. If you can get 100%, like 100% cotton, meaning there's no rubber, there's no type of elasticity in there, then fine, all praises to the Most High. But if you can't, it is what it is. That's what today's class is about. Going too far to the left, going too far to the right. Let's look Sirach 4, and I want verse 22. Brothers came in. This is going on in Atlanta. Sirach 4, I want 22.
Book of Sirach, chapter 4, verse 22. Accept no person against thy soul, and let not the reverence of any man cause thee to fall.
That's been going on in many other places where brothers have let their love for man cause them to err. One of the first school that we left, some of us left out of, we loved those brothers immensely, but we would not let, when we saw they were going into the midst of sin, we had to bounce, although we loved them with all our heart, okay? Because we will not allow our reverence for man to cause us to sin. Jump down to verse 27 in that same chapter, please.
Verse 27, make not thyself an underling to a foolish man.
Make not thyself an underling to a foolish man. You have brothers and sisters, brothers and sisters. No, it keeps popping in and out. In Atlanta, there was a sister who decided she wanted to wash clothes. Well, another sister went to the laundromat. And as they're washing their clothes, this one particular sister started to do this. Reading the labels in the other, all her clothes, her husband's clothes, her kids' clothes, reading what the fabric was made. That's some evil stuff right there. I said, now why would a sister do that? Then it turns out we spoke to her dumb husband. He went into that same foolishness. We're going to talk about that too, about the 100%. I'm going to deal with that. I'm going to touch on that law. The law is an excellent law, and there's no wrong with it. If we do not, Israelites, we do not own our own textile companies. I wish we did. I wish we did. Because guess what? Everything would definitely be 100%. Everything. Verse 27.
Verse 27. Make not thyself an underling to a foolish man.
You get some dumb brothers out there who will put burdens on you and say, oh, you got elastic in your socks, right? And your underwear, you're in the midst of sin, brother. You have to leave the congregation. Are you kidding me? You big dummy. Shut up. Reading labels. Just walk through the congregation reading labels. Stop that evil. That's some evil stuff right there. Okay? From there, go to 1 Corinthians 5, I'm going to show you the reasons why Christ said to cast somebody out of the congregation. Now, I don't want nobody to get simple on this class. Hey, it looks like we could break the law. Oh, hell no, that's not what I'm saying at all. That is not the message. Some of y'all got happy with this there go thing. 1 Corinthians 5 and 11.
1 Corinthians 5 and verse 11. But now I have written unto you not to keep company if any man that is called a brother.
Now listen to this list. He said, don't keep company with any man that is called a brother if he's guilty of what? Let's see what he says.
Be a fornicator.
A fornicator.
Or covetous.
Or covetous.
Or an idolater.
An idolater.
Or a railer.
A railer. That's when somebody's always argumentative against the leadership. Go ahead.
Or a drunkard.
A drunk.
Or an extortioner.
Somebody always trying to get money out of you.
With such in one, no, not to eat.
So this is the guidelines on why we're to put someone out of the congregation. We're not going to add, and we're not going to take away. That's what he says. We're going to follow that. Now, some of you in here have jobs where some of you are working on the Sabbath. I don't work on the Sabbath. All praise to the Most High. Most of us don't, but I know some of us in here do. Some of you get every new moon off. All praises to the Most High. Some do not. Here comes the next dumb doctrine from the same dummies in Atlanta. Oh, you can't get the Sabbath off. You're gonna die. You cannot get eternal life. Oh, you don't get every new moon off. Oh, so you're cast and you're done away with. The Lord's not dealing with you. Really, is that right? So, what we're gonna do now is examine our forefathers, and we're gonna see how the Lord dealt with them. Let's open up with Genesis 41. Our forefather Joseph in Egypt. Now listen, I want y'all to listen good. This class is not saying giving anyone license to sin. It is not. I'm showing you that in things beyond your control, there is what? Mercy. That's it. In situations beyond your control. That's what we're talking about. Not things you can handle. Because if you got your own job, if you work for yourself, can you get every Sabbath off?
Yes.
If you work for yourself, can you get every new moon off?
Yes.
Now, if you choose not to, what are you? You're in the midst of saying you chose to break that law. So now, Genesis 41. Joseph, Pharaoh had a dream that troubled him immensely. Nobody in all of Egypt could interpret it. So somebody said, there was a man I met in prison named Joseph. And he had a gift of the gods to interpret dreams. So now, they called Joseph up. Genesis 41, let me look at the verse. Verse 14.
Genesis chapter 41 and verse 14. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon. And he shaved himself, and changed his raiment, and came in unto Pharaoh.
Stop. Can we look up some Egyptians now? Look up some Egyptians. I don't know how many of you know anything about Egyptian culture. Were they fond of facial hair or no? No. They were not fond of facial hair at all. Any kind of hair. They shaved it all. They was your original metrosexuals right there. Even, see the thing on top? All that was give me the word.
Ornament.
And no, on his chin. There was an ornament that they tied around the head that hung there. Give me some other pictures, Abiel. If you see, the majority of them do not have face, and the hair on their heads were wigs.
Yep.
Wigs. So now, Joseph, when he got called before Pharaoh, can we read that again?
Verse 14. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon, and he shaved himself.
He shaved himself. So they said, yo, Joseph, you going before Pharaoh. You in jail. Pharaoh wants to speak with you. So you think Joseph said, nah, man, I can't be doing this. I got to go up there the way I look. Go ahead.
And changed his raiment, and came in unto Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have dreamed a dream.
That's all I wanted. I just wanted to show you that. From there, let's get the next one. I'm going to go touch on the beard again. 2 Samuel 10, 4 and 5. I might just touch on the beard again. Some of you have corporate jobs that we are aware of. Some corporations will allow you to have beards. My job said I can have a beard, but it must be very small. You have to go by, now you can fight certain things, certain laws, rules on your job, you can fight. I fought. I keep my beard. They said, okay, you can keep it, but you got to keep it short. Unless you're doing some kind of major undercover thing, you can grow it big. But if you're not, keep it short. Corporate jobs want you to keep it very minimal. They do not want a big Aaron's beard going down upon the skirt. 2 Samuel 10, 4 and 5.
2 Samuel chapter 10, verse 4. Wherefore Hanun took David's servants and shaved off the one half of their beards, and cut off their garments in the middle, even to their buttocks, and sent them away. When they told it unto David, he sent to meet them, because the men were greatly ashamed. And the king said, tarry at Jericho until your beards be grown, and then return.
So you were not even allowed to go into Jerusalem if your beard was shaved off. You had to wait in Jericho. Let your beard grow back, then you could come on in. Okay, it was never such thing, deaf, you're going to get put to death now, deaf. So these are things that I'm showing you where the Most High was lenient with us. I'm going to show you some more. Get me in the Apocrypha now. Go to the book of Esther, because the next thing, some of you have dress codes on your job. There are some sisters I've known that when they repented, they were correctional officers. Some were police officers. Some are in the medical field, and they wear scrubs, which are the pants, the face thing, and all of that. Now, those occupations that they're in, they can try to fight that, but guess what? What is wrong with this thing? That is their fight. That is not your fight. Because you'll get an idiot brother, I'm gonna call him an idiot Israelite brother that says, you gotta quit your job. Oh, I gotta quit. Okay, I quit. Now I need my bills. What are you gonna do for me? Nothing. You just had to quit. Don't listen to an idiot brother. There's a lot of them out here who will take power over your life, and then when things fall apart, they'll step back and go, well, that's between you and the Lord now. That's an idiot. We're going to hit on the scriptures on that for the idiot brother. So I'm telling all y'all in here, there's a lot of idiots among us who will tell you quit. Then when you quit and things go bad, you're looking at me like I'm the devil. I'm like, what are you talking about? That brother up there, that brother said this. You co-sign. No, I wouldn't have said that. See, that brother, you listen to an idiot among us. You got it, Isaac?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Esther chapter 14, verse 16.
Verse 16. Listen good.
Thou knowest my necessity, for I abhor the sign of my high estate.
Now, Abiel, pull me up East Indian. Don't pull up Kama Sutra. Don't pull that.
Hell no.
Pull up.
Sorry.
What?
Sorry.
You know, it's the sorry. You know how to spell it? S-A-R-A-I? Something like that. Okay. But there's some more. There's other ones I want. That's modern. I want ancient. Okay, that's modern. That's what you'll see today in the streets of New York. You see that in some place in India today. You see it on the news. However, when you go back during the ancient times, let's go back and blow that one up real big right there. The women were often exposed at the tops. Okay? You could see their top, their belly, that's how they dressed. And they would have gorgeous apparel around the hair and all around, and the bottom was covered with a sheer fabric. Now, let's talk about Esther, because some of you think Esther she was a Jew, she was fully covered. You don't know nothing, you don't know what you're talking about. Esther was queen of Persia, the East Indians. Read that, Isaac.
Esther 14 and 16. Thou knowest my necessity.
So this is Esther praying before the Lord. Thou knowest my necessity. Go ahead.
For I abhor the sign of my high estate.
She said, I abhor, meaning I hate the sign of my high estate. Not only did she have the outfit on, she had a crown or Leah, what is it called? A Leah? One of those tiara, thank you, that's the word, that the women wore. She said, read it again, Isaac. Listen good what she says.
Thou knowest my necessity, for I abhor the sign of my high estate, which is upon mine head in the days wherein I shew myself, and that I abhor it as a menstruous rag.
She says she hates it like a menstruous rag. Go ahead.
And that I wear it not when I am private by myself.
That's the key I want y'all to see. She wore it not when she was private by herself. But when the king called her, she had to dress and act just like they did and go among them. Some of y'all would have saw Esther and said, she's the devil the Bible speaks of. That's because you don't know nothing. You've been following idiots all your lives. Esther's the devil. Esther was not the devil. Esther was used to do what? Save Israel. Save Israel. Now go find me in Esther 1 about Vashti. Let me show you how they got down. I'm going to show you. Once you understand what they did with Vashti, you're going to understand what they did with Esther. Go to Esther in the Bible. Now I think it's chapter 1. Verse 9. Thank you.
Esther, chapter 1 and verse 9. Also Vashti, the queen, made a feast for the women in the royal house, which belonged to the king Ahasuerus.
Come on.
On the 7th day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Mehuman, Biztha, Harbona, Bigtha, and Abigatha, Zethar, and Carcass, the 7 chamberlains that served in the presence of Ahasuerus the king, to bring Vashti the queen before the king with the crown royal.
With the what?
With the crown royal.
That's the same crown Esther had on her head. Go ahead.
To show the people and the princes her beauty.
Now, he wanted to show everybody how beautiful Vashti was. It wasn't just the crown she had, it was her beauty. Abiel, go right back to that picture. Go right back. He wanted to flaunt Vashti's beauty off in front of everybody. Not that one. Yes, the one with the today's. That one right there. That's how they dressed. He said, I want y'all to see how beautiful my wife Vashti is. Go ahead, Isaac.
But the queen Vashti refused to come at the king's commandment by his chamberlains. Therefore was the king very wroth, and his anger burned in him.
Come on.
Then the king said to the wise men, which knew the times, for so was the king's manner toward all that knew law and judgment. And the next unto him was Karshina, Shethar, Edmatha, Tarshish, Meres, Marsina, and Memucan, the 7 princes of Persia and Media, which saw the king's face, and which sat the first in the kingdom. What shall we do unto the queen Vashti according to the law? Because she hath not performed the commandment of the king Ahasuerus by the chamberlains. And Memucan answered before the king and the princes, Vashti the queen hath not done wrong to the king only, but also to all the princes, and to all the people that are in all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus. For this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women, so that they shall despise their husbands in their eyes.
Right, you see, now this is the heathen. The heathen understood what disrespect was. But Negroes and Latinos don't understand this thing. You ask your wife to go get you a sandwich, she go, nigga, go get it yourself. And you think that's okay. That ain't okay. The heathen will tell you that ain't right. Come on.
If it please the king, let there go a royal commandment from him, and let it be written among the laws of the Persians and the Medes, that it be not altered, that Vashti come no more before King Ahasuerus, and let the king give her royal estate unto another that is better than she.
So that's why they got Esther to take the place of Vashti. Okay? Everybody understand that? Yes, sir. So Esther had to dress the same way Vashti did, and nobody had nothing to say. There was no Israelite running around, look at Esther, she's dressed like the devil the Bible speaks of. God ain't dealing. Shut up! She's in a position to help you, and the Lord put in that position. Just shut up and mind your Negro business. Everybody's in somebody, and I'm not talking about on your private time. Because Esther said, what did she say about her private time? She wore it not. She knew how to dress like an Israelite, so she put all that stuff off and put on her clothes. You understand that? So guess what? People got these and I'm not talking because somebody gets stupid. So you're saying it's okay to be a stripper? Well, ain't nobody talking about that. You got Negroes, We're talking about legitimate jobs that sisters there may be rules where they have to abide in. Brothers too. And I say have to, meaning they have tried to fight to get certain things and they cannot get it. Guess what? He or she will have to, in time, get a new job. But that's not for you to say today, quit today. You should quit. Shut up. Just shut up and mind your business. And you take care of your own job. Everybody understand that? We gotta learn to mind our business. Busybodies in everybody's affairs. What are you gonna say?
Yeah, I was looking at that verse 19 before we got to it because I was expecting that you were going to get to that part. It says, and the king gave her royal estate unto another, meaning the wardrobe that this woman Vashti had to go to Esther.
That's right.
That's what it meant.
Exactly. So from there, was there something else y'all saw?
Go ahead.
First Maccabees 2:34. Here's another one.
There's an H.
Okay, here's some more East Indian women from back in the day, ancient time. Look how they dressed. See, that's why when y'all read the Bible, look at the cultures you're reading about to give you a better understanding of what you're looking at and reading about. Yes, Yashua.
You mentioned the scrubs, but they sell skirt scrubs.
Okay, then that's good.
Yeah, because I looked them up. There was a time where my wife was possibly looking at a profession with that. This was way back, and I had looked it up to see. They do sell skirt scrubs. And you got to remember, back in the day, nurses wore skirts.
Right, exactly.
So they wear skirt scrubs. The reason you do scrubs is for infection control. And as long as you're wearing, like, the leggings underneath,
right,
you can fight for that with a letter.
Exactly. And that's why we have provided letters for brothers and sisters who have been with us, supported this truth for 3 months or more. We have letters. Now, some jobs have said, like, what they say on your job, Asaph?
They're not going to honor it at all.
Right. That was on his job.
They're not honoring it at all. If you don't comply, they're going to remove you. Or some people, they'll put you someplace where you can't be seen if they like you.
Right. So that's why I said that's that brother or sisters, that's their personal fight. Our job is to help you, give you the paperwork to help fight. And we're going to remind me of Daniel chapter 1. We're going to touch on that too. We can help you but so much, but it's going to be ultimately, if your job says hell no, our hands is tied now. Now the decision is yours. When I worked at that stupid, remember that company we worked at 15 years ago? The security company?
Yeah, it's in Scars.
It's a security company in Nanuet, New York.
Right, and they would not give me the Sabbath off. I got me a lawyer. I was going tooth and nail to fight with these damn demons. He was like, "You're not a Joe. You don't need the Sabbath." Man, I was saving up my money to sue everybody. But until this lawsuit went through, I had to abide. But then I started getting sick. Every Sabbath, I got sick. And I couldn't go to work. And I'd be at camp. And then you know what happened? Sick. You got fired. I got fired. I said, oh, shh. But that was my fight. That was my fight. Where does it go?
First Maccabees.
First Maccabees 2:34. Let's start there. Listen good.
First Maccabees 2 verse 34. But they said, we will not come forth, neither will we do the king's commandment.
Now this is the Greeks coming against a certain camp of Israelites. And they would not eat the pork or worship idols. Come on.
To profane the Sabbath day. So then they gave them the battle with all speed. Howbeit they answered them not, neither cast they a stone at them, nor stopped the places where they lay hid, but said, let us die all in our innocency. Heaven and earth shall testify for us, that ye put us to death wrongfully. So they rose up against them in battle on the Sabbath, and they slew them with their wives and children.
Because this camp of Israelites that we're reading about said, the law says, how does it go? Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Lift up, another scripture in Jeremiah said there should be no burdens lifted up on the Sabbath. So that camp said, well, according to the law, we're not supposed to fight on the Sabbath. And this is what we're reading about right here. And they slew the men, the women, and the children, and they died in their innocency. Read on.
And their cattle, to the number of 1,000 people. Now when Mattathias and his friends understood hereof, they mourned for them right sore.
I want y'all to listen good to this. Go ahead.
And one of them said to another, if we all do as our brethren have done,
If we all do, and do not lift up our swords and spears on the Sabbath day, which is contrary to the law. Go ahead.
and fight not for our lives and laws against the heathen, they will now quickly root us out of the earth. And that time thereof they decreed, saying, whosoever shall come to make battle with us on the Sabbath day, we will fight against him. Neither will we die all, as our brethren that were murdered in the secret places. Then came there unto him a company of Assyrians, who were mighty men of Israel, even all such as were voluntarily devoted unto the Lord.
So now when they had that council, they all sat this second camp with Mattathias and his men, said, listen, yes, the Lord says we shouldn't do this and that on the Sabbath, but if we don't fight, these Greeks, these Edomites will kill every last Israelite they put their hands on. So I said they made a decree amongst themselves that they will fight on the Sabbath day. And how come you don't read about one idiot brother? I'm sure that idiot brother would have got put to death. We can't do that. We need to just die. They would have put his dumb behind to death. So, get from there, let's go to Daniel chapter 1. And like I said, these scriptures we went over, Genesis 41 about Joseph shaving himself, Esther about her wearing the East Indian apparel, Maccabees fighting on the Sabbath. These things are not here to justify sinning or breaking God's laws. They are written here to show us what God had mercy upon our people. That's it. So I don't want no Negro, Latino, bing, bing, bing. I got a dumb thought. You want to hear it? We can sin. And no, find me that. No license to sin. Give me that one.
And Elder,
Yeah.
that's important because you got camps that find where our forefathers dealt with harlots and say,
Right.
you see, they did it, so we could do it now.
Right, exactly.
So that's why he has to keep repeating that. Because some people are just that stupid that they're going to look for where a forefather was in sin and then want to copy it.
A lot of time, brother will read scripture. They're not meditating in those scriptures. They just read scriptures. But our job is to show you. It's always been mercy was there. You understand? Especially in some captivity where we ain't no power to anything. You understand? So mercy was always within the law. Most High showing us the mercy within the law. They still don't give us, like the elders that said, no license to commit sin.
Right, exactly.
Can I read something
Yeah,
that
go ahead.
goes along with that mercy? Give me the book of St. Luke, chapter 1, and start at verse 72 to 74.
Luke chapter 1 and verse 72.
Listen.
To perform the mercy
To
promise.
do what?
To perform the mercy.
Why do we need mercy? That's what the elder's going over. Why do we need the mercy? Because we're in captivity. That's what we're bringing out. Do y'all see that?
Yes, sir.
Read on.
To perform the mercy promised to our fathers, and to remember his holy covenant,
Come on.
the oath which he sware to our father Abraham,
Read.
that he would grant unto us that we being delivered out of the hand of our enemies.
That we being delivered out of the hand of our enemies. That's what we've been reading about with Joseph. Joseph was in the hand of his enemies. Okay, Esther was in the hand of her enemies. We was reading about over here in the Apocrypha where it speaks about us fighting on the Sabbath day. We were dealing with our enemies. Did we want to do these things? No. But we were under the hand of our enemies, so the Most High said, "Gonna give us mercy," because we always wanted to keep the Most High's commandments. Read the rest of it. That what?
That he would grant unto us that we being delivered out of the hand of our enemies might serve him without fear.
So when our enemies are put down, we ain't gonna be. That means the laws are gonna be 100% in effect. So get to understand that this is showing you that this is no excuse for you to be breaking the laws. That's what we're reading. Because the Most High is saying that he's going to give us mercy to serve him without fear. We're serving the Most High with fear now.
Yep.
But that's going to be removed. So how in the world you going to read, how in the world you going to take what's being extended up here and say we have a license to sin? You need death. You're going to come around talking about something, oh, the scriptures and the brothers are teaching that you can break the law. Then why is the Most High talking about giving mercy that we be able to serve him without fear?
Right.
I smell the Negro a mile away. I know how he is. He's looking for an excuse to be the devil that the Bible speaks of.
Right, let me give an example of that fear. You ask your boss, can you have, Passover is 7 days. You want the 7 days off. Your boss says, no, I'm not giving you 7 days. I might give you 2, but you're not getting all 7. That's fear. Because now if you try to fight too much, you might, what might happen? You lose your job. So you go, oh, okay. And we're going to read about that in the book of Daniel. You want certain days off to serve the Lord, and you got to go to your enemies and beg and plead for the day, unless you work for yourself. Like, go back to that. Then all praise to the Most High. But most of us in here do not work for ourselves. I wish we can.
Right. Exactly.
That would be a beautiful thing. We might get there one day. We will. Will you finish that, y'all, something?
Yeah, that was it.
Give me Sirach 15 and 20. Start at 19.
Sirach chapter 16 and verse 19.
Listen good.
Verse
Chapter 15, verse 19 and 20.
chapter 15. And his eyes are upon them that fear him, and he knoweth every work of man. He hath commanded no man to do wickedly, neither hath he given any man license to sin.
He has not given any man license to sin. Now I want y'all to understand. I like that title. No license. He has not given us a license to sin. Make that the title of the class. I like that. So showing you that in this walk, he has not given us license to sin. But you may be in a situation where you are breaking God's law because of the job you might have, where you have to work X amount of days. That's a fight that's the cross you have to bear. Everybody understand that? Give me that one in Baruch about this day, subject to payments. Baruch, was it 3? 3 and 8. Thank you. Now, we always tell you, when y'all go for a job or something, I'll work on the Sabbath. Don't do that. You tell them first and foremost. Like Officer Uzziah was going over that with brothers on the men's conference.
Yep.
Once an offer is put on the table, they like you, you've gotten a job, now you're going to tell them what days you are available. You are available 6 days a week except the Sabbath. You got to sell yourself on that thing. Okay? You got it for me, Isaac?
Yes, sir. Baruch chapter 3 verse 8.
And you get the dumb brother or sister. Well, I put in the application that I can work on a Sabbath. You dumb as hell. Now you come back mad. Well, you wrote an application, dummy. Well, I thought if I put out observe the Sabbath, they wouldn't hire me. You think, see, that's your problem. You think too much.
Baruch chapter 3 verse 8. Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse.
For a reproach and a curse.
And to be subject to payments, according to all the iniquities of our fathers.
So we are subject to payments here. We are subject to work here. Okay? From there, get me Daniel chapter 1. Let's look at what our forefather Daniel did. And let me explain something to you. Another thing. When our forefathers like Joseph, I want y'all to listen good. Joseph was in the Egyptian captivity, right? He was second in command, right? Okay. Then you had Nehemiah was the king's cupbearer, right? Okay. Then you had Zerubbabel was the king's bodyguard. You mean none of those kings needed them on a Sabbath or one of the high holidays? What do you think would happen if they called and they did not come? I need y'all to think. Use your brain. Use your brain for all those things were written for our learning today. Don't be stupid, judgmental, or condemning. Our job is to teach the law, and we should teach it in the spirit of Christ and not in the spirit of hypocrisy. But understand where mercy and grace comes in. I'm going to show you something else in Daniel chapter 1. No, let me finish Daniel. Daniel chapter 1, and I want to start at verse 9.
Daniel chapter 1 and verse 9. Now God had brought Daniel into favor and tender love with the prince of the eunuchs.
Nope, that's not what I want. Above it. Let's start at 4.
Verse 4.
This is Daniel. Start at 3. I'm going to show y'all something too.
Verse 3. And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seed, and of the princes, children in whom was no blemish, but well favored, and skillful in all wisdom, and cunning in knowledge, and understanding science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, in whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans.
So the master of the, what's the key word? Master of the what? Eunuchs. Who knows what a eunuch is? Brother right here with the glasses. Yes, stand up. What is a eunuch? Give him the mic. Mike.
The office of 10 mic.
Yep,
It's on.
we can hear you.
It's like when a man they cut off his genitals.
Right. They cut his rod off. That's exactly it. For the purpose of them not deflowering the virgins. Yes, it says eunuch, a man who has been castrated. One in the past was employed to guard the women living areas at an orient, meaning the court. So Daniel, a lot of y'all didn't know that Daniel, Hananiah, Azariah, and Mishael were eunuchs. Hey, wait a minute. There's a law that says if anybody is wounded in their privies, they cannot enter the kingdom. So that means Daniel and them gimmick. Shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. That's why Isaiah 56 talks about the eunuchs that serve the Lord and keep his Sabbath. Now, Daniel chapter 1, what verse you at, Isaac?
Verse 5. And the
Wait. Read 4 again.
Verse 4. Children in whom was no blemish, but well favored, and skillful in all wisdom.
So this eunuch had to search among his whole horde of eunuchs, which children, because they were kids, which ones were without blemish, meaning no pimples and zits or pox in the face. He had to look at them. They had a nice skin complexion. They got to be pretty kids. He said, listen, they got to be skillful in wisdom. Let's see. We don't want a dummy up in there among the king. They could guard the women, but they cannot be in the king's palace. It says skillful in all wisdom, cunning in knowledge, and understanding science. So they had to put the kids through arduous tests to see what their mental capacities were. That's why it behooves you women with your kids to get some kind of understanding. Your children should be raised on a higher level, just like our children were in the past. And not suffer over it. My kid got, what's that called, HDD? ADD. You know he don't. You keep believing the lie the white man told you. It said, understanding knowledge, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace. I mean, when they stood before the king, they had to know how to articulate. They had to know to conduct themselves. Not yo, Nebuchadnezzar, yo! No, take that little nigger snot-nosed kid out of here. Get him out of here. He running around breaking the toy, bang, 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 because his mama never taught him nothing. Half the kids in here couldn't stand before the king. The kids be put to death. Hey, I'm gonna tell you something else. Most of these kids in here, if they was hard slavery with Esau, it'd be put to death. Because the kids had to be taught how to talk around Esau. Do not look him in the eye. Say yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, and know how to act. But some of these kids you see up in here, they be put to damn death because their mothers ain't teach them nothing. We laughing, but that's why when they go to school, the white man just look at them and go, And the same black women, can you teach my kid how to read? And the white man said, can you teach a kid how to shut up and sit down? Then they wonder why they left back, 19 years old in the 5th grade.
See, don't get the wrong idea. A lot of what we're telling you is not so much as to learn what Esau is teaching or anything like that. No. We are, like the brother was bringing out during the men's conference, our job is to get what we can get from this society for the benefit of Israel. So when we tell you to educate your children to the point where they can maneuver through the system for the benefit of building their people. That's what the message is.
That's right.
Don't
Exactly.
get the wrong idea. I have to sit back and pay attention to how some of y'all are receiving this.
Right.
And y'all get the wrong idea. That ain't what we're talking about at all.
Exactly.
But the day of being dumb and stupid is come to an end.
Exactly. I always tell about this movie called The Spook That Sat by the Door. It's only $5. Get the movie. Get the movie. Huh? It's very inexpensive, but it's good. It shows you how the brothers during the 60s went in amongst Esau, learned all that he could learn, went back to the community, and was teaching brothers how to do this, how to do that. Very good movie. Very good. And that goes for any job or schooling you have. Bring it on home and teach the rest of us. Right?
That's the
movie
point.
right there.
That's the point. That's the point. To get that's what the scripture. The movie sit beside the spook that sat beside the door is coupled with the scripture who speaks about use this world but not abuse it.
Right.
He was going to get all that information and all that for the purpose of going back to his people and build it up. That's what the whole point is about.
And that's what you read in the scriptures about Joseph.
Exactly.
All the blessings Joseph, Mordecai, Nehemiah, Esther had, they used their blessings and wisdom to benefit the nation of Israel. That's it.
I hope y'all understand that, because there was a point where Esther said where she was getting ready to get simple. And her father had to put her back in check. Said,
Not a father.
her uncle, I'm sorry. Mordecai. He had to put her back in check.
Right.
He had to say, listen, if you don't deal right, the Most High will put you to death and have somebody else do it, because your purpose is for the building of your people.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that's what our purpose is.
That's why as people repent, brothers, sisters, they're going to come out of different walks of life. You're going to have people in certain positions that's going to shock you. Like when Christ was teaching, who were some of the famous people that followed Christ? Nobody knows? Who? Nicodemus, who else? Joseph of Arimathea. And you remember the tax collector, what was his name? Zacchaeus. Here goes a nigga. Zacchaeus, you need to quit. Christ, shut up over there. Just shut up.
Zacchaeus got 501c3.
Exactly. Here come a broke nigga over say, you need to quit. You need to just shut up, mind your business. All those people that was repenting, they used their wealth, their understanding to benefit the followers of Christ. Okay? And guess what? They were keeping the commandments. That's what they were doing.
That's the whole message behind this whole class. Is for the benefit of Israel.
Exactly. What verse you at, Isaac?
Verse 5.
Come on.
And the king appointed them a daily provision of the king's meat.
Now this is what I want y'all to listen real good and pay attention and learn from this. Come on.
And of the wine which he drank, so nourishing them 3 years, that at the end thereof they might stand before the king.
So they had a 3-year training program to raise these kids up before they could stand before the king. 3 years. Go ahead.
Now among these were of the children of Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah.
Come on.
Unto whom the prince of the eunuchs gave names.
Now the prince of the eunuchs, because they were eunuchs, he changed their names. Go ahead.
For he gave unto Daniel the name Belteshazzar, and to Hananiah of Shadrach, and to Mishael of Meshach, and to Azariah of Abednego.
The same thing that Esau did, changed all our names. He could have said, well, I don't want, like Laba just said, he could have said, I don't want that name. Yep. But he said, no, I'll take that. But this other thing right here, eating from the king's food, I don't want to eat this food. It's some of it's unclean and been offered to idols. That's the fight Daniel said, I'm going to fight this fight. Read that again, Isaac.
But Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested...
What's that word?
Therefore he requested...
What's that word?
Therefore he requested...
Requested. Come on.
Of the prince of the eunuchs, that he might not defile himself. Now God had brought Daniel into favor and tender love with the prince of the eunuchs.
You got to see how all the Most High's hand was in this. By this time, when Daniel stood up for that fight, the Most High had made Daniel be well liked by the master of the eunuchs. This dude liked Daniel a lot. He favored him. Out of all the hundreds of eunuchs he had, he favored Daniel. Watch this. Go ahead.
And the prince of the eunuchs said unto Daniel, I fear my lord the king, who hath appointed your meat and your drink. For why should he see your faces worse, liking then the children which are of your sort? Then shall ye make me endanger my head to the king.
So what's going on here? The eunuch said, if you don't eat the same foods all the rest of these kids is eating, when it comes time for you to stand before the king, you're going to be malnourished. The king's going to look at me, how come you ain't feed this one? And you're going to get my head cut off. Because Babylon did not play. They were very strict on things. Read on.
Then said Daniel to Melzar, whom the prince of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, prove thy servants, I beseech thee, 10 days.
So Daniel said, give us 10 days. Just give us 10 days. Go ahead.
And let them give us pulse to eat.
Y'all, who knows what pulse is? Pulse. Yes, Ezekiel, what is pulse?
Pulse is vegetables.
Right. Herbs, vegetables, herbs, fruits, that type of thing. Give us herbs, vegetables to eat. Go ahead.
And let them give us pulse to eat and water to drink.
So Daniel wanted to keep a strict diet of like a vegetarian. Go ahead.
Then let our countenances be looked upon before thee.
After 10 days, you look at our countenance, look at our faces. Go ahead.
And the countenance of the children that eat of the portion of the king's meat.
Compare us to them. Go ahead.
And as thou seest, deal with thy servants. So he consented to them in this matter, and proved them 10 days. And at the end of 10 days, their countenances appeared fairer and fatter in flesh than all the children which did eat the portion of the king's meat.
Now, what do y'all learn from what we just read? Let me start here. You. Yes, with the pen. You. What have you learned from what we just read? Yo. Give him the mic. In the book of Daniel chapter, where is the mic? Is that like running around somewhere? What did you learn with Daniel's example that we should follow?
That the Most High will sustain his people even in the midst of his enemies.
How? I want you to explain.
By, as long as you keep the laws of the Most High, then he will protect you.
That's what you got. Somebody else. What we just read, what can you pull out of what we just read and apply it today? What did we just read? Nobody? Hein, somebody help me, please, right here.
What we learned was that when you decide, you make your conscious decision which fight you're going to battle with your enemies. And
what did Daniel do? Then show us.
He chose, he could not go against changing his name when they changed his name. But as far as the meat that the king wanted to feed them, he said, let me deal with the eunuch and see if he could feed me something else. So he dealt with them in a way, God put the spirit on the eunuch to deal with him because he saw what Daniel was doing was fair. He was trying to keep the law. And this was something he could debate with the eunuch, and God softened his heart and made him feed them vegetables like he asked.
Back there, just hold. Let me hear what you got.
It just shows that even in our captivity, he was holding God's laws to the best of his ability, which he had to change his name, but he still could he still could hold on to the dietary law, so he took up that fight.
But y'all not explaining how he was able to keep the dietary law. When he found favor in the sight of the heathen, he requested. Daniel didn't go to the heathen and say, look, yo, I'm not doing what you say. He said, master, he was master of eunuchs, master whatever, what was his name? Ashpenaz. Please, let me and my companions not. He didn't go there fighting with an attitude. He had to request. You know what the word request means to what? To ask. Some of you got jobs and you are scared to ask your boss anything. Ask. Sometimes all you got to do is ask. Request. That's what we can pull out of that.
Now, for those of you that was in the men's conference, that's what the brother was showing you. You're asking for certain things, for certain days off. Once you get inside there, you knock it out. That's what the point that you're making about it, gain favor. Once you get in there and you show them how good you are with the particular job, then you can go in there and ask them for certain things. Because now you got the power to negotiate. That's what I'm saying. You got the power to negotiate. Now they say, well, we don't want to get rid of him. The man is doing too good. So you want the Sabbath law? Boom, you got it. You understand? That's what happened here. So that's what the brother did with the eunuchs thing. That's what he did. Go ahead.
Go ahead, what you got?
Get Ezra 7 and 6. Say the same exact thing. Daniel was in Babylon. Let's see if it happened in Persia too.
So it was like the elder said, you just can't go up there and just asking for things, and you was a damn enemy. You acting like you was an enemy to the boss.
Late every day, talking back.
They said, man, we trying to fire you. They said, we trying to get rid of you.
Ezra chapter 7 verse 6. This Ezra went up from Babylon, and he was already scribe in the law of Moses, which the Lord God of Israel had given. And the king granted him all his requests, according to the hand of the Lord his God upon him.
Yeah, so the Most High was done with Ezra, and the Most High made the king grant him all his requests. And First Ezra 8 and 4 says all his requests, because he asked for many things. So all his requests were granted also.
Right. Let's go to Nehemiah. Nehemiah chapter 2. And let's start at verse 4. Now, Nehemiah was the king's cupbearer. Remember, anytime the king wanted a cup of water or wine, Nehemiah's job was to bring it. Remember, that was his job.
On the Sabbath.
That's right, on the Sabbath day too. Yo, king, I ain't coming up there. Why not? It's a Sabbath. Off with his head. Oh, shoot. There's a nigga in the background. See? Nehemiah 2 and verse 4.
Nehemiah chapter 2 and verse 4. Then the king said unto me, for what dost thou make request? So I prayed to the God of heaven.
When the king asked Nehemiah, what request do you have? Nehemiah immediately, he did what?
So I prayed to the God of heaven.
He sent up his prayers to the Most High because he was about to request a big thing. Go ahead.
And I said unto the king, if it please the king, and if thy servant have found favor in thy sight.
Found favor in thy sight.
That thou wouldest send me unto Judah, unto the city of my father's sepulchres, that I may build it.
See that? See, that's what, you know how big this is? He's saying, let me go back to the cities of Judah to rebuild my city. That's not a thing of one day or two to rebuild a city.
Right.
That's a big request. Go ahead.
And the king said unto me, the queen also sitting by him, for how long shall thy journey be? And when wilt thou return? So it pleased the king to send me, and I set him a time.
Y'all see that? Notice he said he requested. These are the examples that when we're operating in Esau's world, we got to learn to get favor wherever we are and request. Unless you're an entrepreneur. Yes. Or retired.
What does it mean to be wise as a serpent? Let's dig into that thing a little bit. What does it mean to be wise as a serpent? Aparia, Officer Aparia.
You want to be clever. You want to be able to use wit to go ahead and get what you want.
You see that? That's the point. Wise as a serpent. Because, in other words, he's doing things, but the ultimate result is that he wants to get what he wants to get. The snake is slick, cunning, but his intentions is to bite you, to put you to death. Okay, but he'll slide up on you. So that's the point. That's what it meant, wise as a serpent. You know, he's like we operate like all the stuff that you're hearing is being wise on how to get through the system.
That's right.
Yeah, you follow me? But at the end of the deal is we want to take what he has out there and bring it back to Israel.
That's right.
I hope y'all understand that. I really hope. I don't want y'all to be sitting there here half confused and crazy. I want y'all to really understand. How many of y'all understand what we're bringing out in here? Raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Say it again.
Who don't understand?
Okay.
Who
now,
don't understand?
Don't understand.
Now see they said.
Listen, they think that y'all was up asking a question. Y'all think that it's strange that he asked that, and it's not strange that he asked that. Because there's a bunch of dumb niggas on YouTube that don't understand that. That make videos quite the contrary, that they believe if you excel at your job, If you get favor at your job, where you could benefit your people, you sold out.
Right.
Okay, so that's why he's asking the question, how many of you understand? Because you got a bunch of dumb men that believe the contrary. That if you excel at your job, they put a video about the elder saying he's the best at his job. He's on top. Is that a bad thing? No. Okay, but you got some dumb coons, okay, that are doing nothing for the nation but destroying it, putting emphasis on like it's bad. Right. We applaud that he's the best at his job because it allows us benefits. Okay, and now he can help the nation. If he was a bum at his job, with us having to carry him, would he be beneficial to us? No. Okay, so you got some dumb people, that's why y'all some ask. How many of you understand that that is a blessing from the Most High? For you to excel like your forefathers in whatever range of work that you do in this wicked society.
I'm going to get
because you got men picking up the Bible, studying it to and fro with different books, going deep, breaking it down, and they can't see what y'all young men are seeing right now.
I'm going to get super basic. I'm going to get super just real quick and I'm going to shut up.
No, you're not. Go
If we were all, listen carefully to what I'm saying, and I want y'all to think. If we were all, what was the word? If we were all being a demon to our, if we all did bad on our jobs, let's put it that way. If we all did bad on our jobs, how would any of this be? How would any of this come together? I want y'all to find out what I want y'all to think about what I'm saying, because I got to shape it so they can really get it.
Ask them will we be in this building right now.
I'm going there.
Okay, that's where you got to take it to.
I'm going there.
Or will we be on the cold?
Asaph, I got to give them the history. I got to give them the history.
Go ahead.
With Esau having all of the resources and all the money and all the wealth and everything locked up, and we have essentially nothing, and we have to go to him to get it. You follow what I'm saying? How will we be able to gather resources to help build our people if we did not have to have a good, quote-unquote, work relationship with him in order to get the resources to build for Israel? You got to take it all the way down. So when some people say, oh, the elder's doing great on his job, y'all start doing great on his job or whatever, how in the world you going to frown on that when the reasons why we are doing great, let's get the reasons. The reasons why we are doing great, so to speak, is so that we can take what is offered and bring it back to build the nation. In other words, if we were all being niggas and wild, crazy people on our job, all of us would be fired and we'd be all sitting in the street talking about Israel.
And cursing out other people.
It won't have nothing. Do y'all understand that? I want y'all to get the proper understanding of what's happening here. So the whole purpose of us being good, quote unquote, or doing what we're supposed to do on the jobs is for the purpose of bringing the resources and building Israel. God set it up that way. See, some of y'all be watching these. That's why when Asaph was bringing out this stuff, some of y'all gonna go back and watch some of these other camps that's gonna tell you to be a nigga on the job and be fired and have nothing. You can't do nothing for you. You can't do nothing for your families. You can't do nothing for your people. Nothing. And the Lord is telling us how to deal with our enemies. He's telling us how to deal.
They're going to take the blue letter Bible and twist that our forefathers were sellouts. That's what you're going to hear now. That we broke it down wrong and our forefathers were sellouts.
Was Joseph a sellout?
Okay? And all of them had positions of rank.
We're reading about Zerubbabel. We're reading about everybody. Cupbearers and everything. You know, where's the sellout business in that? Daniel. They were doing this all for the purpose of gaining favor so that they can win the battle for their people. But our people don't think that deep. They can't. To be wise as a serpent, meaning that you have to think beyond what you're doing and think about the end result of what you want. That takes some deep thinking. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? Or am I speaking physics?
Say it again.
I'm saying that it takes a lot of thought to process a plan in your mind on how you're going to go inside companies, gain their favor like we're reading, to get what you want so that you can take it back and build for your people. And at the same time, the heathen is saying, yes, go forth and do so. That takes some deep thinking. And y'all understand what I'm saying? That's what the scriptures, that takes discipline.
And it also proves, Yahweh, that the Spirit of the Most High is working with you. Because they're going to say, because we excel, that we sold out And that's why all the titles have the devil in it. The devil, the devil, the devil. Was not the Pharisees saying Christ has a devil also? Okay, was they not accusing? Anytime Christ did anything productive, they accused him of having a devil also. So now things are being productive. That's why all the titles that they have, the devil, the Satan, the this, the that. Because brothers is being progressive in what they're doing.
Let me mention something even worse. You got brothers that's on jobs, that's working, doing all kinds of things, and ain't doing nothing with the resources.
Right.
Ain't bringing it back to the people, ain't building nothing for the nation at all. That's some evil. That's some sellout. You're supposed to be able to master the Most High gave you the instructions and the examples on how we are to deal. Once you learn this, you are to put it into practice. Get what you can get out of this system. That's what the scriptures are talking about. Use this world, but not abuse it. That's what the scriptures talking about. Abuse it meaning that you forgot the mission.
Exactly. Look at this. Go to Daniel 6 and 1. We're going to read 1 to 3.
Daniel chapter 6 and verse 1. And it pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 princes, which should be over the whole kingdom, and over these 3 presidents, of whom Daniel was first, that the princes might give accounts unto them, and the king should have no damage. Then this Daniel was preferred above the presidents and princes, because an excellent spirit was in him, and the king thought to set him over the whole realm.
You see how our forefathers was? So the 3 presidents that were under Daniel, guess who they were? Azariah, Mishael, and what's the other one's name?
Hananiah.
Not Abednego. Give me the Hebrew name.
Hananiah.
Hananiah. Thank you.
Nazariah.
Right. So Daniel had them promoted right along with him. That's what they were saying. What do you say?
Read it again. Read it again. Read it again. Read that again, Isaac.
Daniel 6, 1 to 3. It pleased Darius to set over...
Let me turn you up something. Come on.
It pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 princes, which should be over the whole kingdom, and over these 3 presidents, of whom Daniel was first, that the princes might give accounts unto them, and the king should have no damage. Then this Daniel was preferred above the presidents and princes.
Preferred by who? Okay, you hear what he's reading? Read the first line again.
Then this Daniel was preferred above the presidents and princes.
And who's the one that did this? Beginning of what you started reading, the very first thing you started reading.
And it pleased Darius to set over the kingdom.
And it pleased Darius. You see that? Why did it please him? Because our forefathers weren't niggas. That's why. They didn't act crazy. That's what I mean. They had some sense. They understood the work of the Most High. They understood on how to gain favor from the people in order to get what they needed to get to benefit Israel.
That's right.
So Asaph, you saying he was a top man at what he did in this position?
Do y'all see this?
Okay.
See, y'all never know the Bible talk like this, listening to some of these wild recluses out here.
Right.
With no purpose.
With no
No
purpose.
direction.
Here's the beginning of that. Daniel 2:49.
You don't realize this, Elder, but this is meat.
This is meat.
This is meat. This is not basic stuff. This is meat, because a lot of you twisted in your mind like, what is he talking about?
They were serving their enemies, because Babylon was not their friends. Babylon destroyed our people. Look at Daniel 2:49.
Daniel 2 and verse 49.
And notice this. None of them was plotting to kill the king. I'll say that again.
How you going to plot to kill the king and then ask the favor?
Listen, it's just like you said. You got some of them setting up prayers for these men to die. But they had a bigger purpose, a bigger focus. Okay? They knew once they positioned themselves with these wicked leaders, the Most High was going to make it so that they could benefit their people. Use wisdom in the captivity to elevate your people, to sustain them until it's time to get out of here. Not stand in a corner wishing up death to everybody who you don't like. Okay?
Do y'all understand that? Yes, sir. I don't think so. I still ain't getting it.
Well,
They said I ain't getting it. I ain't getting it.
It wasn't loud enough. Huh? It wasn't loud enough.
Isaac, Apari, what you got? Yes.
Yes, and for those brothers and simple people that think that you're Uncle Tom or Theo Tomas for acting this way, The difference is that those Uncle Toms and those Theo Tomases, they didn't love their people. They were like that because they wanted to be above their people and be over their people. These brothers here, they had love for their people.
Right.
Okay? And they were following the commandments of the Most High God. So it's a difference. This is wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove.
Absolutely. They're practicing use this world, but not abusing it. The abusing it is when they love themselves and not their people. That's when you're abusing it.
Get Daniel 2:49. Read that. Listen good. This is the beginning of it.
Daniel chapter 2 and verse 49. Then Daniel requested of the king, and he set Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the affairs of the province of Babylon. But Daniel sat in the gate of the king.
Do you see that? Then Daniel requested of the king, and he set Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the affairs of the province of Babylon. So Daniel needed help. He said, well, I got some trusted brothers that get down with me. I need them 3 cats. They fast with me. They pray with me. I need them, those brothers. That's right. So that's how we got to be. In this kingdom, this is how we have to roll. We get someplace, let's see who we can bring up. And you brothers, when you get brought up, don't be messing up the next brother. Yep. Because you got to watch a Negro. He'll destroy you. I'm going to tell you a story. Boss asked me, hey, you know anybody that can do such and such? I said, yeah. So I call a brother up. I said, hey, listen, I need you to come down there for this job. So my boss says, well, he ever been arrested before? Because we got to do that fingerprint thing. He said, if he did, I'll work around it. Just let me know. I asked him, I said, hey, you ever been arrested before? He goes, nah, I've never been arrested before. So the boss goes, all right, I'm going to send him down, go through the proper channels, send him down. Red flags all on the brother's fingerprint. Boss cursed me out. He said, don't ever bring one of your Israelite brothers down here again. He said, you cost this company X amount. I was mad as hell at the brother. I said, we asked you if you've been locked up. All you had to do was say yes, and he would have made a way around it. But you lied. Now I look, I got doodle on my face. He don't want you. Get the hell out of here.
And he said, don't bring any more.
So Israelites.
So that one, you know the damage one Negro can do.
That's right.
Oh, you go there.
That's in that movie.
So the story.
One brother, you tried to help him because he was deceitful.
Exactly.
Wiped out the chances for any other Israelite to come through the door.
Exactly. You brothers got to be mindful of that thing. Now, I'm going to hip you to something. You're saying, well, our forefathers knew how to deal with the kings and all that. But that ain't for now. That's not now. Give me 1 Peter. Now I'm going to shock brothers. Give me 1 Peter 2 and 17. Watch what it says here. Let's see who's going to get shocked. Watch. 1 Peter 2:17. I know many of y'all have read this and were confused. I don't know what Peter talking about.
I know where you're going.
1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 17. Honor all men, love the brotherhood, fear God, honor the king.
What?
Honor the king.
So he didn't say cut his head off, wish death on his family?
Honor the king.
Oh, I'm confused now.
Everybody's confused.
Wait, stop. My head hurts.
It's contradictions.
God thought we supposed to wish death and to honor the king does not mean the king said, hey, kiss my butt, go worship idols. You okay, I'm gonna worship idols. That's not the example our forefathers did. They dealt right. That's all it means. They dealt right. They were not plotting to overthrow. Some of you might have come from those black revolutionary groups. We're gonna gather weapons together and we're gonna overthrow the government. No, our forefathers didn't get down like that. They knew how to be wise in this captivity. They knew how to operate. They were very cunning. We gotta be that same way. And it's hard for a Negro, because we gotta be straight ahead and just, that's how we get shot down.
Well, you know the whole thing is this, because the reason when you bring the scripture, our forefathers understood these leaders were set up by Most High God.
Right.
Peter understood that in the spirit. You understand? And woman 13, you understand that. These leaders were set up by Most High God. So you go against trying to get gunshot, you're going to deceive yourself. You're going to die.
One of the brothers in here, I ain't going to call his name Isaac, but he used to go on the street teaching, we going to kill the president. So they better take that brother down. The hell? We going to cut his hat? No, take him down. You know, they got laws about that. Don't be out there talking, you cutting heads and all. Stop that talk. This is a long, long time ago. But That speech of insurrection, there's law sedition. Y'all be mindful. That's like in some of the islands. You cannot go to Jamaica cursing up as a mother effer. They'll lock you behind up quick. You learn these little low life from these low life camps out there and run to these islands, run in your mouth. You're gonna get thrown in jail quick. Run in your mouth. What you gonna do to the government and all that? Shut. You ain't gonna do nothing. Just read the scriptures, brother. Read the scriptures say prophetically this, that, and the other. That's what. There's always ways to do that thing. I thought. What you gonna say?
Verse 13.
Verse
That's what I was
13.
looking at. So you right on it. Go ahead, brother. I was looking at that thing. Come on.
Submit yourselves to every ordinance of man for the Lord's sake.
That's what Daniel did. That's what Nehemiah did. That's what Ezra did. That's what Esther did. That's what Mordecai did. They didn't sell out.
Right.
Read again.
Submit yourselves to every ordinance of man for the Lord's sake.
Go ahead.
Whether it be to the king as supreme.
No, Peter's selling out. Peter's 501c3 all the way. Read again.
Whether it be to the king as supreme.
You know, they had different kings. You had King Herod, you had King Julius Caesar, you had different levels of kings. You had the supreme king and you had lower kings under them. Go ahead.
Or unto governors.
That's the Pontius Pilates. Go ahead.
As unto them that are set by him for the punishment of evildoers.
Oh, stop and frisk. Read it again.
Or unto governors, as unto them that are set by him for the punishment of evildoers.
No, right doers.
Of evildoers.
Evildoers. That's Romans 13 precept. Go ahead.
And for the praise of them that do well.
And for those who don't get stopped and frisked. Or those who get off from stop and frisk. They don't get arrested.
You ever notice some camps will not read these verses
Right.
here?
Yeah, they're not. You gotta go into the Greek, that's why.
Hey, you gotta read 15. Read 15.
The Greek says,
Right.
don't, the Greek says, thou shalt not submit yourselves to the high power. That's what the Greek says.
Hey, read 15.
Verse 15. For so is the will of God.
No. Can't be.
For so is the will of God.
You gotta rip that scripture out the Bible.
Yep.
You can't be reading that thing like that.
Say that page out.
Read it.
For so is the will of God, that with well-doing.
That with well-doing. The well-doing is what it's talking about in the verses above it. Come on.
You may put to silence the ignorance of foolish men.
Means shut the hell up, you stupid. You don't know what the hell you're talking about when it comes to the Bible. That's what it says.
So all of this learning is to benefit the nation of Israel. Because if we all start acting crazy out here on the streets, we all get locked up in jail, who are we going to benefit? Nobody. Let's teach the word according as it is written. And guess what? We know in time, just like Peter and them got put to death and all that, we know the prophecy of what's going to happen. But as long as we're abiding in God's laws and obeying the rules of these lands, we in good standing with the Most High. And we're going to have a long trend to teach this word, to gather Israel together. But if you do contrary, you out there stealing, you robbing, talk about rob those that rob thee, my brother. Like that one Israelite camp said, brother gets locked up because he was in a store stealing. He comes back after 2 days, and the elder of the congregation, I ain't gonna mention the name, said, see, if you was in the spirit, the cameras wouldn't have picked you up. And I said, the hell? You got to be crazy.
The spirits would have made you invisible.
Yeah. You got some crazy camps out there. And brothers, listen, follow that stuff. And they end up in jail, and then we get the phone calls. We always get the phone calls after the fact.
You remind them that
See, the whole point is, what did Pontius Pilate say about Christ? That there was no evil found in him.
That's right.
That's what they said about Christ.
Exactly. And Christ
was Christ a sellout? I dare somebody to say that. That's what the scriptures say, that with well-doing you may put to silence the ignorant of foolish, stupid men.
Right. Now, you know the scripture where Christ said, give me that. Sell your garment and buy a sword. Give me that. I'm going to show y'all that. I'm going to show you. This is what happened in another camp. Where's that at?
I think Luke 19 or 21. Luke 21.
Bear with us a second.
Are y'all starting to get the understanding now? I know it's a little bumpy at first. Come on now. Are y'all getting the understanding now? To be honest with me, y'all know y'all was confused in the beginning. Y'all all right now? Y'all getting there? I know there's a little turbulence here, you know. But you'll be all right.
This is some meat for you.
This is meat, though. I know this is meat.
You find the scripture like that? Somebody find it for me.
Yeah, a lot of time, the scripture, deacons, Asaph and Basilio, the character of a serpent, he observed things. That's why we have to become observer. We don't just act, you have to observe things first and study your enemy. That's your job, to study your enemy.
Luke 22:36.
Right, Luke 22:36. Listen good. I'm going to tell you a story. Go ahead.
Then said he unto them, But now he that hath a purse, let him take it, and likewise his scrip. And he that hath no sword, let him sell his garment and buy one.
So Christ was, now this is when he was going to leave. They was going to be on their own. He told them, bring a scrip, get a purse, have some money. That's when you have some money, and get yourself a weapon. So now, a brother reads that from another camp and begins to teach it. What is the stipulation? I'm going to ask y'all, I'm going to see where your heads are. What is the stipulation here in this country, I'm only talking about this country here, about what we just read here? Let him sell his garment and buy one, meaning a weapon. I know y'all know on the side. I want this section here in the middle. Okay, stand up. What is the stipulation? And, okay, the weapon we're talking about, a gun. I'm talking about a gun.
You need to get a license.
Right. You need a permit, a license to carry one. So, here's the story now. Here's the brother of the other camp, standing in the rain, a tornado, reading this, telling brothers, and he that has no sword, let him sell his garment and buy one. So, we can buy one? Yeah! Okay. Week later, we get a call. Ring, ring. Brother, you know, I just used my quarter, and I just used my quarter to call y'all because I'm not getting no responses back. Yeah, brother, what's going on? Well, I'm in jail. Why you in jail, brother? What camp you? I'm with camp such and such that stands in the rain and the tornadoes and teaches in and out of season. And anyway, the elder told us to buy a gun. The elder told us to buy a gun, and I'm at work with my gun, and the people on my job saw me with my gun and called the cops. The cops came and locked me up. What you gonna get there? Brother, there's nothing I can do for you. You are simple as hell. You follow these ragtag, terrible leaders out there who they give you half the understanding, but the rest of it you're on your own. Now you got arrested for having a loaded firearm with no license to carry.
Now you say you gave him half the understanding. Now where's the other half? Where's the other understanding to get us behind out of jail?
Yeah, exactly. So now you got a court case. So what the hell is this? So y'all follow some of these knuckleheads out there if you want. We gonna tell y'all right. You want to get a gun? You can get a gun, but make sure you got papers on that gun. That's what we're saying. Don't be buying a gun off the street with the serial number scratched off. That's a felony. You in trouble. I'm telling you straight. And if you got a knife, make sure it's less than, what does it say, 4 inches. Make sure it's a little one. We go to, look what I got. I'm going with a machete. Crazy. I'm in the spirit. Going to jail. And make sure it ain't one of those gravity knives. You know the kind you can just flip? That's another illegal one. Gravity knife is illegal. What's the one you punch people?
Brass knuckles.
Brass knuckles is illegal. I like them things, but it is legal. Yeah, nunchucks. So just use wisdom. And if you don't know, ask somebody. Ask. Now, let's go to Judges 5:11. We went through all those scriptures to come down to here. Because like I said, this class is not a class of, oh, we can sin, it's okay. That is not the message. That is not the message. Judges 5:11.
Judges 5 and verse 11. They that are delivered from the noise of archers.
The noise of archers is referring to missiles. Because when archers shoot arrows, they don't make regular noise. Our archer is them silos that shoots those arrows that make noise as missiles. Because the military term for missiles is arrows. Everybody understand that? Yes, read again.
They that are delivered from the noise of archers in the places of drawing water.
The places of drawing water means the lands of your captivity. You're a servant here. Read.
There shall they rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord.
That's the point. We are rehearsing the righteous acts. We're rehearsing for the big day when Christ returns. If you're not rehearsing, when that day comes, you're going to be messed up. Like in a play. I don't know if any of you watch actors and all that. They have rehearsal dates. And for like on Broadway, they rehearse. Then comes opening night. If you have not rehearsed, what happens? You forget your lines, you mess up, you get fired. So now here we are in America, in the lands of our various captivities. We must rehearse God's laws. Why? Because opening night is soon to come. When we're in the wilderness, we must be prepared to do what this Bible says. 100%. It's going, all that grace thing like we go through now, we messing up. In that day, that time is over of, oh, I messed up, Christ, I'm sorry. It says he's going to rule over us with a rod of iron. He ain't going to play with us. He's going to teach us, just like he did under Moses, over Moses, taught Israel the law. Israel that rebelled, running them up, he said, put them to death. Kill them. I'm sick of them. Right, this is the silos here. And these missiles are called arrows militarily. So that's what Judges 5 and 11 is speaking of spiritually. Y'all gonna say something?
Yeah, just on a side note, when you see stuff like this here, like go back to that picture that you just that picture there, just for a second. When you see something like this here, and you see it with your eyes, and you know that these things exist, y'all with me? And then you open up the Bible and you can read about them. That lets you know how heavy this book is. You follow what I'm saying? Because you can read about this. Prophets Isaiah, Zechariah, Malachi wrote about these things here. Exactly. So you ain't dealing with just some comic book. You really dealing with the words of the Most High. And it will behoove us to follow every word in this book. That's right. Including the examples that the Most High gave us through our forefathers.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
Philippians 2 and 12. Philippians 2 verse 12. This is what I was saying earlier at the beginning of the lesson.
Philippians chapter 2 and verse 12. Wherefore, my beloved, as ye have always obeyed, not as in my presence only.
Not as in my presence only, because a lot of us are super Israelites when we're around each other. But when we ain't around each other, some of us turn into the damn devil. Read.
But now much more in my absence.
Paul says, be that much more an example of an Israelite keeping the commandments in his absence. Read.
Work out your own salvation with fear and trembling.
That's what I wanted you to read and understand. Work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. So now, whatever laws are written in this Bible, yes, if we can keep them, keep them. Rehearse these righteous acts. You have a job, try your best to keep the commandments of the Most High. Rehearse the righteous acts. Don't get it twisted as to what we're saying. Work out your own soul salvation. You know if your job is no good for you to keep this walk, there may be a better one for you. You got to spend time looking for another occupation, another profession, another job that's going to help benefit you and your people in this captivity. I'm not going to tell you quit right now and now you can't feed yourself. You got no place to live. That's just stupid. Everybody understand that? Yes, sir. So take your time and work it out. That's why it says work out your own soul salvation.
Yeah, get the book of Hebrews 10, verse 26 and 27 to go along with what we just read with the fear and trembling. Because these scriptures right here is going to remove the ignorant of our people that says, oh, we can just break God's laws. That's just crazy, and that's not what's coming out from over here. You got it?
Yes, sir.
Let's read.
Hebrews chapter 10, verse 26. For if we sin willfully, after that we have received the knowledge of the truth, there remaineth no more sacrifice for sins.
Read it again.
For if we sin willfully.
This is the purpose of rehearsal. We are rehearsing the righteous acts because we want to get it right. But in your time of rehearsing, you're going to mess up. Does that mean you're sinning willfully? I can't hear you.
No.
Read.
For if we sin willfully, after that we have received the knowledge of the truth.
So we know the laws, just like our forefathers knew the laws. But they weren't doing this thing willfully. They had to do things to get to the point where they needed to get. Just like the elders bringing out, If you see yourself going down a particular path, you pray for mercy that the Lord can remove you out of that situation, get another job or whatever it takes. Read.
There remaineth no more sacrifice for sins.
Come on. These are for those that have the liberty of let's say, for instance, like we were talking about before, you're an entrepreneur. You're not on the level where you have to work on the Sabbath for certain things like that. Go ahead.
But a certain fearful looking for of judgment and fiery indignation, which shall devour the adversary.
That's what the Most High is talking about, what we just read in the other scripture. Seek out their own salvation. Go back to that again.
Philippians 2 verse 12. Wherefore, my beloved, as ye have always obeyed, not as in my presence only, but now much more in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling.
You got that? That's the message.
That's why I said certain things is your fight. When we counsel brothers, don't ask me to tell you what to do. I'm going to give you the scriptures, then you do what you're going to do. Because you know what you want to hear? You want somebody to tell me what to do. No. You're coming up in this truth to be a man of the Lord. Learn to make a decision. Okay? Right. Itching ears. Here you go. He got a woman with a big butt and a smile. She telling him, I ain't doing nothing in that Bible. So he asking me, well, what should I do? You're simple as hell. If you need me to answer that for you, there's something wrong with you.
But you know the main thing? Even if you gave him the answer, he still ain't going to listen.
No. Now what's up? We're going to get the classic Nathaniel said.
Right.
Okay, when things go wrong, or she got him in child support court, or she put the monster on him,
right,
he's going to say Nathaniel said. That's the famous line.
Look at this, Romans 6:1. This is for all you. Don't come in here with that Christian mindset of grace, grace, grace. I can sin and sin and sin because we're under grace. That's Christianity, and that's evil. And this is what Paul addressed.
Romans chapter 6 and verse 1. What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound?
Should we just look for reasons to break God's commandments and say grace, grace, grace? Here's the answer. Read.
That's sinning willfully.
God forbid.
Paul says no, don't do that. That's evil. So if anybody in here after today's lesson says, we can sin, we're under grace, you're of the devil. Because that's not what we said, and that's not what the scripture says.
I'm going to tell you who's going to say it. I'm going to tell you who's going to say it. They're going to freeze part of the video and match words together and then say you said it. That's what's going to happen. Because that's how evil Negroes are. Y'all seen them videos? They're going to freeze certain parts. They put a lot of time into them. And you're going to see a 10-part series about this class.
Watch. Right. Didn't we just read this in Hebrews? We just read this in Hebrews. Read this again over here in Romans.
Romans 6 verse 1. What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound?
What's the word that you can put there? Sin willfully. The Most High say you don't do that.
Right. Go to Galatians 2:18. Watch this. Galatians 2:18. I'm going to see who understands this thing.
The book of Galatians.
Wait. Let's start at 17. I like that.
Galatians 2:17. But if, while we seek to be justified by Christ.
For if we seek to be justified, we all seek to be justified by Christ, correct?
Yes, sir.
Read on.
We ourselves also are found sinners.
Sinners meaning breaking the commandments. Go ahead.
Is therefore Christ the minister of sin?
Is Christ the minister of sin? Go ahead.
God forbid.
Christ is not the minister of sin. None of us should be in here who want to be justified by Christ found to be sinning. God has not given any of us a license to sin, 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 grace, grace, sin, sin. Read.
For if I build again the things which I destroyed.
What are some of the things we destroyed? Let me see. Who can help me here in the middle? In the middle. Who can help me? What are some of the things you have destroyed in your life? Over here on the right with his hand up. Yes.
You got to think about it.
Hello?
Yeah.
You can say your temple, your body.
Wait. It says, for if I build again, I don't want that part. I want this part. The things which I destroyed.
That'll help you. Look at that part.
what I'm saying. If you destroy your body, the Most High will destroy you. If you are the temple of the Most High.
I need more specific things. What are some of the things in your life you destroyed when you come in as truth? Not hiding. Behind hiding.
You destroy the old man.
Like what? Give me examples. What are some of the things the old man has done?
Lusting.
Lusting, okay, come on.
Covetousness.
Covetousness, come on.
Hatred.
Hatred, okay, come on.
Evil thoughts.
Evil thoughts, okay, come on.
And everything that's sinful to God.
Like what? Remember, when you're learning to become a teacher, you're going to be addressing an audience who will have various problems. So you got to learn to break it down. Because you want to hit different things because you don't know what anybody's going through in here. So you said lust, which is fine. You said, what else did you say? Hatred, covetousness. How about drug addiction, alcohol, things like that. Christianity, worshiping idols, right? Homosexuality. These are the things you destroy. Because when you read, let's read it again, Isaac. Galatians 2:18.
Galatians 2:18. For if I build again the things which I destroyed, I make myself a transgressor.
So if you build again the things you destroyed, homosexuality, adultery, lesbianism, alcoholism, you destroyed those things. But if you start to build them again, I'm going to go back to being alcoholic, a homosexual, a lesbian, covetous, filled with hate. I'm going to go right back to that stuff. It says, for if I build again the things which I destroyed, I make myself a what? A transgressor. A transgressor. From there.
That goes into mortifying those members. That's what that's talking about also. It said to build again the things that you destroyed. You kill those things within you.
Everybody understand that?
Yes, sir.
Who's confused about that? Now, from there, go to Luke 14. Luke 14 and 16.
The book of Luke, chapter 14 and verse 16.
Right.
Then said he unto him, a certain man made a great supper. And
a certain man made a great supper and what?
And bade many.
And bade many. Go ahead.
And sent his servant at supper time to say to them that were bidden, come, for all things are now ready. And they all with one consent began to make excuse.
So now this is about the kingdom. The kingdom is prepared. He sent his servants, which were the prophets, out to get Israel to come in. And it said they all with one consent, what?
Make excuse.
They began to make excuses. I want y'all to listen good, because some of us in here and online are filled with excuses. Go ahead.
The first said unto him, I have bought a piece of ground, and I must needs go and see it. I pray thee, have me excused. And another said, I have bought 5 yoke of oxen, and I go to prove them. I pray thee, have me excused. And another said, I have married a wife, and therefore I cannot come. So that servant came and showed his lord these things. Then the master of the house, being angry,
being
said,
what? Being what?
Being angry.
God hates excuses. Brother asked you to do something and there's an excuse. Well, brother, it says he was angry. We're on the street teaching people to repent and they make excuses. Read.
Then the master of the house, being angry, said to his servant, go out quickly into the streets and lanes of the city, and bring in hither the poor, and the maimed, and the halt, and the blind. The servant said, Lord, it is done as thou hast commanded, and yet there is room. And the Lord said unto the servant, go out into the highways and hedges, and compel them to come in, that my house may be filled.
So now, hold on, I'm going to come back to this parable in a second. Give me Acts 13:46 so I can give you an understanding of what this parable is really about. The root of this parable. I think it's Acts 13. I'm shooting from the hip. Let me look. Yes, that was it. Start at 45. This is what the parable is about.
The book of Acts, chapter 13, verse 45. But when the Jews saw the multitudes, they were filled with envy, and spake against those things which were spoken by Paul, contradicting and blaspheming. Then Paul and Barnabas waxed bold and said, it was necessary that the word of God should first have been spoken to you.
Judah, the kingdom of Judah, which included Benjamin and Levi, read.
But seeing you put it from you, and judge yourselves unworthy of everlasting life, lo, we turn to the Gentiles.
Which is Ephraim and the other tribes. That's what happened. Y'all understand that? Let's go back to the parable now. Luke 14. What verse did you leave off?
Verse 23.
Let me look at it. Bear with me a second. Verse 23. Start at 21 again.
Verse 21. So that servant came and showed his Lord these things. Then the master of the house, being angry, said to his servant, go out quickly into the streets and lanes of the city, and bring in hither the poor and the maimed and the halt and the blind. And the servant said, Lord, it is done as thou hast commanded, and yet there is room. And the Lord said unto the servant, go out into the highways and hedges, and compel them to come in, that my house may be filled.
So what's happening in this parable? Christ is explaining to the disciples that the ones making excuses was Judah. That's what was happening back then. That's why the scribes and the Pharisees were always going against him. He said, all right, I'm pissed off. Now go to the other Israelites. Go gather them in. That's what this parable is going into. Go ahead.
For I say unto you, that none of those men which were bidden shall taste of my supper.
Those leaders, those scribes and Pharisees that did not repent, Christ said they're not going to taste of the supper. Go ahead.
And there went great multitudes with him. And he turned and said unto them.
That was it. So now, when we compel people, remember we read that word up above it in verse 23. Read 23 again.
And the Lord said unto the servant, go out into the highways and hedges, and compel them to come in, that my house may be filled.
How do we compel them to come in? How? Nobody has a clue here. Nobody knows. Abiel.
We compel them by teaching on the street, by showing them the laws.
Give me a scripture.
You can go to, 1 second.
Isaiah 58:1, get that. This is how we compel them. Your answer's correct. This is how we compel them. Read that, Isaac. Isaiah 58, verse 1.
Isaiah 58, verse 1. Cry aloud.
Cry aloud.
Spare not.
Don't spare their feelings. Read.
Lift up thy voice like a trumpet.
Talk loud so they can hear you. Read.
And show my people their transgression.
Show my people their sins. Show them where they're going wrong according to God's laws. Read.
And the house of Jacob their sins.
And we got to show all Israel their sins. Was that it, Isaac?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I was thinking of Nehemiah 8:8. Cause them to understand.
That's very good too. I like that. So now, from there, Matthew 21:28. We're almost done. Just bear with me a second. A little bit longer. Just something I want to show y'all. Matthew 21:28.
The book of Matthew, chapter 21 and verse 28. But what think ye? A certain man had 2 sons, and he came to the first and
Listen good.
Son, go work today in my vineyard. He answered and said, I will not. But afterward he repented and went. And he came to the second and said likewise. And he answered and said, I go, sir, and went not. Whether of them twain did the will of his father? They say unto him, the first. Jesus saith unto them, verily I say unto you, that the publicans and the harlots go into the kingdom of God before you.
You see that? So those religious leaders at that time were the ones saying, we love God, we're going to do what God says, but they did not do what this Bible said. It was the publicans, which were the tax collectors, and the hoes out there who said, we ain't going to do it. But then those were the ones that repented and did what God said. That's why Christ said, they shall get the kingdom before you that know the scriptures and won't do nothing the Bible says. Everybody understand what he's saying? Yes, sir. Right, that's that willful sin. Now, with all that, some of y'all said, oh, no, that's not right. Now, although we honor the king, we're still going to tell you the truth. Give me the next clip, Abiel, right here, blow it up big. Listen good.
Welcome back today. A new shocking admission and apology from the U.S. government for a secret study where people were intentionally infected with diseases. From 1946 to 48, medical researchers with the U.S. Public Health Service infected nearly 700 Guatemalans with gonorrhea and syphilis without their knowledge or permission. And about 1/3 of those people who were infected never got adequate treatment. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and Health and Human Services Secretary Kathleen Sebelius issued an apology for this experiment. Bob Bazell, NBC's chief science and health correspondent, is here to help us understand more of exactly what happened. Bob, instantly people started making comparisons to the now infamous Tuskegee experiment that happened in Alabama. Why are we learning about this now?
Well, it was hidden away, and interestingly enough, Tamara, some of the same people who were involved in the Tuskegee experiment were involved in this. In this situation, people, as you said, were intentionally infected. They were prisoners. There were people in mental institutions, highly vulnerable populations. There were prostitutes who were told to go out and spread the infection. And it's true that most of them were treated with penicillin, but some were not treated. And Francis Collins, who's Dr. Francis Collins, the head of the National Institutes of Health, just held a telebriefing. He called this one of the worst chapters in the history of medicine, and very few people would disagree with that. They're setting up several commissions to make sure that this kind of thing can't even possibly happen again. But this was something that was carried out at a time when the U.S. government was trying to find out about sexually transmitted diseases, and it had the cooperation of at least some people in the Guatemalan government at that time. There's also some talk of whether there'll be reparations for the families of these people, but they say they haven't gotten to that point yet until they find out exactly who was involved and whether they can locate the families. But again, these people were injected with material that came from the United States into all parts of their bodies, including into their spines, and when you read the details of this, it is just sickening.
I just want to quickly read up part of the apology today that was released. In part, it says, although these events occurred more than 64 years ago, we are outraged that such reprehensible research could have occurred under the guise of public health. We deeply regret that it happened, and we apologize to all the individuals who were affected by this abhorrent research practices. We'll be talking about this unbelievable story throughout the day. Bob, thank you so much for joining us.
This is why God says the white man is the devil. I'm telling you straight. This evil and apology, don't fall for the... Some of y'all going, oh, they apologize. Don't fall for it. Abiel, find me Chase Bank apologizes. Is it Chase Bank or Wachovia? Wachovia. Both of them. Don't fall for the BS, because that's what it is, it's BS. That's why the Bible says they are fugitives, they have never paid for their crimes. It's not a video, Abiel, it's an article. It's an article. Yeah, there we go. There we go. The BS right here. There you go. Blow the big. CNN money. Wachovia, that's Wachovia Bank, apologizes for slavery ties. Wachovia Corporation has apologized for its ties to slavery after disclosing that 2 of its historical predecessors owned slaves and accepted them as payment. North Carolina, Charlotte, based Wachovia, issued a 111-page report to comply with a Chicago ordinance that requires companies that do business with the city to disclose whether they profited from slavery, which ended in the United States in 1865. Chase was included in all these top banks were included in this BS, and their apologies mean nothing. They're going to pay for all the evil they have done. So that puts them right now. Yeah, they're frozen now. Yeah, they're in limbo. Because we just went over about honor the king, and now you're...
I told you.
All of us, you just want to just smack the hell out of somebody. But you got to know how to control yourself. Remember, what did Daniel and them see as Babylon came in? Who knows what Daniel and them saw, what they witnessed? Anybody knows? Nobody knows? Nobody has a clue? Nobody read the book of Daniel? Joel. Listen. Come on.
Daniel saw the fall of Babylon.
Before that, when Babylon came to Jerusalem, what did Daniel see?
Oh, he saw the destruction of his people, the destruction of the temple.
Daniel saw the destruction of the temple, the slaughter of his people, and guess what he still had to do? He had to serve Babylon. You don't know what's going on in these men's mind? They saw many of their people enslaved and slaughtered, put to death, their mothers, their fathers, and they had to go to Babylon and serve captivity. and still deal right, that's where we're at today. All the stuff that we know, that's why it says about wisdom. Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad. Give me that, Ecclesiastes 7:7, I think it is something like that. It makes you mad, but knowing all that, you still have to be able to conduct yourself in this wicked society. Right, they cut Daniel's rod off. You don't think he was mad at that thing? He could never be with a woman. Come on, Isaac.
Ecclesiastes 7, verse 7. Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad.
Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad. That's us. We mad. We wise. Because we know the history. We know what has transpired. And don't think that putting syphilis in our people in Guatemala between, what does it say, 1946 and 1948, that's not the first and it ain't the last time. They did it over in the South during the Tuskegee experiments. And guess what? They're still doing it today and they're keeping it secret. Give me that scripture in Habakkuk chapter 3. I'm going to show you that. Habakkuk chapter 3 about devour the poor. That one. I'm going to show you all the secrets. This is going to make you more mad, but you got to be more wise. That's why we're so urgent about this truth, gathering our people together. 3:14, thank you.
Habakkuk 3:14. Thou didst strike through with his staves the head of his villages.
God, which is referring to Christ's return, did strike through the kingdoms, the heads of the villages. That's what it's saying. Come on.
They came out as a whirlwind.
All the nations of the world come out to what?
To scatter me.
To destroy Christ. Read.
Their rejoicing was as to devour the poor secretly.
Their rejoicing was to devour the poor what?
Secretly.
Secretly. That's what we just saw about the experiments putting syphilis and gonorrhea in our people in Guatemala. Okay? I want all y'all to understand the evil that this country perpetuates. That don't mean you go deaf, dumb, and blind to this truth. We got to bring this truth out. Why? Because it's going to bring our people in to this truth to return as Israel. Everybody understand that? Yes, sir. Watch this. I'm going to just get to the point now. Get me Micah 2, 1 and 2. Micah chapter 2. We almost done. Last few scriptures. Micah 2, 1 and 2.
Micah chapter 2 and verse 1.
Listen good.
Woe to them that devise iniquity.
Woe to them. Destruction to them that devise iniquity. That create plans of destruction. Read.
And work evil upon their beds.
The white man works evil upon his bed. When he's in bed, he's thinking of ways to destroy our people secretly. Read.
When the morning is light, they practice it.
When the morning is light, when they get opportunity, they practice the evil. They put syphilis and gonorrhea in our people. They did it in Tuskegee. They did it in Guatemala. And there's a lot of other things we have not mentioned yet. Read.
Because it is in the power of their hand.
Because it's in the power of their hand. Why? Because they're in authority. They're the rulers right now. Read.
And they covet fields and take them by...
And they covet fields. They covet lands and what?
And take them by violence.
Take them by what?
Violence.
Marching.
Violence.
Peace treaties.
Violence.
Violence. They take all these lands that they have gotten and conquered was done by violence. Keyword conquered was done by violence. Not through marching, not through voting. It was all done through violence. Was that it, Isaac?
No, there's more.
Right.
And houses, and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage.
How do they oppress a man and his heritage? He changed our names, and he became us. Now, we're the Jews, they say. We're the Christians. Y'all are niggas and spicks, blacks and African Americans, Latinos. That's you now. That's what they did. That's what it means. They oppress a man and his heritage. That's what they did. That's Bible prophecy. You ain't gonna read that in the Quran. Give me that next one in 2 Esdras 11 and 40. In the Apocrypha, 2 Esdras 11 and 40. So knowing all this, we still have to be wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove. When you understand that you really want to go out and hurt somebody, but you can't. You don't think Christ wanted to destroy Rome at that time? But it was not time.
Why is it that we are not to go out and do these things? Now, what keeps you from doing that? What keeps you from doing that? Because you know the prophets were mad.
All the prophets.
All of them were mad. Just like the scripture says, surely oppression maketh a wise man mad. So why is it that we didn't do that? I ain't. Give him the mic. Stay on your point, Elder.
Because the scripture says we don't war in the flesh, we war in the spirit.
That's vague. It's a good scripture, but it's vague. That's not answering my question. Why is it that we did? That's exactly what I need. I need you to talk plain. Why is it that with all of the knowledge that we know, because I was looking at, in the book of Daniel, it's mentioning plenty about how our people were hanged and all that. I'm reading stuff like, I'm sorry, in Daniel 9 and 12, he has confirmed this word that was speaking against us and against our judges, that judged us by bringing upon us a great evil. For under the whole heaven it has not been done that has been done upon Jerusalem. We knew about all the hell that happened to us, yet Daniel, for instance, did not do anything stupid against the king. So why is it that Daniel, knowing what he knows, why he didn't just go and do something crazy? Because the oppression would make you do that, right? So why didn't he do that? Jonah. Why?
Because the oppression is from the Most High, and we went over the scriptures.
That ain't answering my question.
Okay.
I said, why didn't he go off and do that? Y'all missing my point. Give it to somebody else. I'm gonna have to get it in a minute. I want to see if y'all thinking. You still with me, Elder? Come on.
Because in Luke 21, Christ said, "In your prison possess your soul."
I like that. But explain. Okay, you mentioned that. What does that mean?
We had to be patient, to work, to do everything in order in this society.
You know why I like his answer? Because that's what Revelation says. It says, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. So what does the patience teach you? That's the question. That's the question. What does the patience teach you? Get that microphone back there to him. Or I want to hear him. What does the patience teaches you? It's something that's linked up with the patience. That keeps discipline. See that? Now he's talking. Daniel had the hardest discipline. All of the prophets that saw the destruction of their people, they had the hardest discipline. Why do you harness discipline? Why would a person be disciplined? Why would you even accept discipline? Why would you put your spirit in check? Why? Whoever got the mic, answer. I want to let the elder get back because I want to get to the point so he can go. Because I'm going to say it after this. Why would you want to, what is the purpose of discipline? That's what I'm asking. What's the purpose of discipline?
Reaching the discipline with going back to what we were studying earlier with 1 Peter 2:17, to honor all men regardless of the situation you're in.
All right, let me spell it. You know the reason why you would harness discipline is because discipline keeps you from going off of the mark.
Right.
It keeps you from going off of the path. If these brothers would have went out of the spirit and did something crazy, then you cannot get the end result. The end result is like I was reading in Daniel saw the end of all kingdoms. He knows that the Israelites is going to win the battle ultimately.
Right.
So if he goes off, there's a chance that might not happen. So he will endure all of it. Yeah, I'd be nice to the king and all that because he's just like the snake. He's going to go around until he get where he need to get. Then he's going to take your head off. That's what the discipline does. So you can understand for you, for the so-called ball players that are dealing with white women. There's a level of discipline that these white women hook up with these black guys. They can't stand them. They think of them like a roach. But the discipline that they have is that they'll shut their mouths until they get to the point where they can take his money and throw him in the street like a piece of garbage.
Right.
I'm just trying to get y'all to understand what discipline does. Discipline causes you to focus on the mission, and you'll ease through it to get to the top. When you get in a position of authority and you get to a position of advantage, then you take off his head. That's what Daniel understood. I'm reading Daniel 7:27, where he says that the whole earth was going to be put under Israel. He knew that all the way back during the time he was serving the king. Exactly. Do y'all understand what we're bringing out? Yes, that's the purpose of discipline.
Exactly. Go to 2 Ezra 11 and 40. Watch this.
2nd Ezra, chapter 11 and verse 40. And the fourth came and overcame all the beasts that were passed.
Now the fourth came is referring to the fourth kingdom, which was Rome. But America is an extension of Rome. America is an extension of the pagan Roman Empire. Read.
And had power over the world with great fearfulness, and over the whole compass of the earth with much wicked oppression.
You see how America gets down? They oppress much. That's what Hugo Chavez says. George Bush needs a psychiatrist. He thinks he's the ruler of the world. But God says they are. This country is the rulers of this world. All nations follow behind this country. Everybody fears the United States of America. That's what we're reading about. Read on.
And so long time dwelt he upon the earth with deceit.
With what?
Deceit.
With deceit. You think America tells you the truth? You think that little apology about the syphilis and the slavery was something? You ain't seen nothing yet, the evil that they have perpetuated in the earth. Read.
For the earth hast thou not judged with truth.
Come on.
For thou hast afflicted the meek.
We are the meek. The Israelites are the meek. Our people in Guatemala are the meek. Our people that suffered slavery are the meek. Read.
Thou hast hurt the peaceable.
Our people are the peaceable. We didn't attack them. They attacked us. Read.
Thou hast loved liars.
America has loved liars. Their senators, their mayors, their governors. Read.
And destroyed the dwellings of them that brought forth fruit.
They destroyed our homes, our houses. Read.
And has cast down the walls of such as did thee no harm.
Do you hear what God is saying? God is letting the Israelites know. He said, listen, I got this covered, but I'm making you aware because a lot of you are in love with your slave masters. I'm just making it known to you. Pardon me, you had your hand up.
I was going to say, China just said that the world needs to be de-Americanized.
Right.
The world needs to be de-Americanized. There's an article that just came out.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, go ahead, y'all.
When he said de-Americanized, what is he really saying? It need to be de-whited. Because the white man, no, I'm serious. When we're reading about they fear America, they don't fear all America. You got Negroes in America. They don't care about that. Who they fear is the white man. That's what it's talking about.
So that's what I pray everybody understands today's class. Give me Deuteronomy, this last scripture. I know I keep saying it. Deuteronomy 33, 24, 25, 29. Last scripture. Deuteronomy 33. Last scripture is the last one. I know.
Deuteronomy, chapter 33.
Verse 24.
Verse 24.
Here you go. Let's go.
And of Asher he said, let Asher be blessed with children.
So Asher are those Israelites located from Colombia to Uruguay. That's where Hugo Chavez, who's from Venezuela, is from. That's the tribe of Asher. The Bible says, let them be blessed with children. That's why a large bulk of the slaves was brought there. That was Asher put down there. Read.
Let him be acceptable to his brethren.
Let him be acceptable to his brethren. Because you got a portion of them there who's wild as hell. You got a lot of them down there in uncivilized, in the Amazon jungles, uncivilized. They got so many children, you ask yourself, when it says let Asher be blessed with children, there's a movie called The City of God. Very good movie. You brothers, sisters, see that movie. Right, that's the movie right there. And it tells you these kids will rob and they are wild. You ain't seen no wild until you get over there in Brazil. Favelas?
Yeah, favelas, the cities.
Wild kids. The kids were so wild, they hired, what's the word? Mercenaries from Australia and Germany to put a lot of them to death. And it was lawful to just go through and shoot them kids. Bam, 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 kill them off. That's why God says, read it again.
And of Asher he said, let Asher be blessed with children.
Let Asher be blessed with children. Why? So they will not be exterminated. Read.
Let him be acceptable to his brethren.
Let him be acceptable to his brethren because a lot of them are wild and unorganized. Uncivilized. Read.
And let him dip his foot in oil.
Because one of the richest resources over there in Venezuela and Brazil is oil. That's why Hugo Chavez, what was his oil company? Citgo. Thank you. And he was bringing oil over here to Americas to help the Latinos and the blacks. Say it on the mic.
cheap, because you look at Brooklyn, all the sickos, that's the cheapest gas station. I look for sickos everywhere. That's the cheapest gas you're going to find anywhere.
Exactly.
Sicko, and it's always in our neighborhoods.
Exactly. Exactly. Read on.
Thy shoes shall be iron and brass.
Thy shoes shall be iron and brass, because those are more natural resources over there throughout South America. Read.
And as thy days, so shall thy strength be.
So God is saying that Asher shall be a strong tribe and shall go on forever. Jump down. Jump down to verse 29.
Verse 29.
Here you go.
Happy art thou, O Israel, who is like unto thee.
So we're Israel. The Bible tells us to be happy. He's going to explain why. Go ahead.
O people saved by the Lord.
We are the people saved by the Lord. Not all races, but Israel only. Read.
The shield of thy help, and who is the sword of thy excellency.
Here it come, read.
And thine enemies shall be found liars unto thee.
Read that again.
And thine enemies shall be found liars unto thee.
Because a lot of us believe everything the so-called white man says. God says your enemies shall be found liars unto you. Because everything we're realizing that he has taught us has been a lie. A lie from one lie upon another. Read it again.
And thine enemies shall be found liars unto thee, and thou shalt tread upon their high places.
That means we going to conquer them when Christ returns. We going to destroy all nations and put them in subjection. I like that thing.
We used to scream black power while heroin was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission. Minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road. Purple and gold. From Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.